Do make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Betrayal doesn't always come from strangers. Sometimes it sits at the very table you cook for, laughs in the very rooms you clean, and stabs you while smiling to your face. The night they kicked me out, I stood in the rain with nothing but a suitcase, my pride torn to shreds. They said I wasn't good enough, that I was nothing but a mistake in their son's life. My mother-in-law's words cut deepest. We should never have let a woman like you into this family. And my husband? He didn't defend me. He let the lies spread like wildfire, claims that I had stolen, cheated, and schemed my way into his world. But what they didn't know, what none of them could have imagined, was that their so-called mistake was about to become the one woman who could undo everything they had built. Because by the time the ink dried on those divorce papers, their empire, their pride, and their entire world would be mine. I remember it like a scar. The dinner table was set with expensive china, the chandeliers glittered, and laughter filled the mansion. But the moment I stepped into the room, the laughter died. My sister-in-law smirked as if she had just won a prize. My mother-in-law cleared her throat, her eyes cold and sharp. And my husband, the man who once swore to protect me, refused to even meet my gaze. It started with whispers, then accusations, until finally the words I'll never forget. You don't belong here. Get out of this house tonight. I tried to speak, tried to defend myself, but they drowned me out with insults. Gold digger. User. Nothing without us. I packed my things silently, each fold of clothing feeling like a tear in my soul. As I walked out into the rain, I looked back just once, and saw my husband's smile. Not a nervous smile. Not a guilty smile. A victorious one. That's when I realized, he had planned this. He wanted me gone. But what he didn't know, was that he had just lit the fire inside me. The tiny apartment I moved into smelled of damp plaster and loneliness. The walls felt like they were closing in, but I refused to crumble. I replayed that night over and over. The smirk on my sister-in-law's face. The way my mother-in-law's voice cracked with hatred. The smug smile on my husband's lips. They thought they had broken me. But then, one phone call changed everything. It was from the law office where I once helped my husband organize documents. They were sloppy that night and accidentally copied me on a private email chain. My hands trembled as I read it. Hidden accounts. Secret transactions. Assets tucked away in my name, without me knowing. And if what I was reading was correct, then half of their so-called empire was already mine. I whispered to myself, "Oh, you shouldn't have underestimated me." I didn't storm back demanding revenge. No, that's what they expected. Instead, I played the long game. I found a lawyer, one they didn't know, one who didn't flinch when I showed him the documents. His eyes widened, and he leaned back in his chair. "Do you know what you're sitting on?" he asked. I shook my head. "This isn't just a divorce case. This is a financial earthquake waiting to happen. And you," he smiled, "are holding the trigger." So I prepared. Quietly. Patiently. Every day, I carried myself like the broken woman they believed me to be. But behind closed doors, I was gathering evidence, recording conversations, piecing together the puzzle that would destroy them. The day of the divorce hearing, my husband walked in like a king. He laughed, shook hands, winked at his lawyer as if this was just a formality. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law sat behind him, smug and certain that I was about to be humiliated for the last time. They didn't know the storm I had brought with me. When the judge asked about division of assets, my husband smirked. "She gets nothing, Your Honor. She came in with nothing, and she leaves with nothing." The courtroom chuckled. Even his lawyer grinned. That's when my attorney stood up. Calm. Confident. "With the court's permission, we'd like to submit additional documents for review." Silence fell as binders of evidence were laid before the judge. Page after page of hidden accounts, fraudulent transfers, properties in my name, and assets they thought were invisible, suddenly glaring under fluorescent lights. My husband's smile vanished. My mother-in-law gasped. My sister-in-law went pale. And then the judge spoke. According to this, Mrs. A. Your name not only retains half of the marital assets, but her net worth exceeds Mr. Husband's name by a considerable margin. The entire courtroom turned to look at me. The failure. The gold digger. The woman they threw out into the rain. I didn't say a word. I just smiled. News spread like wildfire. The empire they thought they controlled crumbled overnight. Shareholders pulled out, scandals erupted, and everything they built with arrogance slipped through their fingers. Meanwhile, I walked away not just with freedom, but with power. My husband once laughed as he signed our divorce papers. But in the end, the last laugh belonged to me. The courtroom victory was only the beginning. Weeks later, I drove past my old in-laws' mansion, the same place where they'd once slapped, spat, and laughed at me. The gates were locked, the windows dark. Their empire had collapsed faster than I thought possible. My ex-husband had vanished into debts and scandals. My sister-in-law moved back into her mother's house, bitter and broke. And my mother-in-law, the woman who once threw me out into the night like garbage, avoided every neighbor's eyes. But me. I didn't celebrate with champagne or parties. I sat quietly on my balcony, sipping tea, watching the city lights. Because true victory doesn't come with noise. It comes with silence, when your enemies are too stunned to even whisper your name. I smiled to myself, whispering into the night. They thought they buried me, but all they did was water a seed. Sometimes life doesn't hand you revenge. Sometimes it hands you receipts.